This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy James.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is the Rope to Rope and Pillar to Post, very best of the best, Austin Lane, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., alongside Scooter Dust.
What? Counting the potato as always.
And it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with... He is the best of the best, Austin Lane!
Thank you guys so much for having me. Yes, it is the Rope to Rope and Pillar to Post, the very best of the best, Austin Lane. It is my pleasure and honor to be on here with you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It is a pleasure to have the best of the best on the show as well.
Love that energy.
And where can we find the best of the best doing what he does best next?
Well, let's see. On social media, you can follow me on Instagram at The Real Austin Lane, REAL, The Real Austin Lane, or you can find me on Twitter at Austin Lane, the number 1, AUSTINLANE, the number 1. Or you can also look me up on Facebook, Best of the Best Austin Lane. And then, of course, Smoking Hot Nikki Lane, my wife, she's also on social media. We'll follow her there. What do we got coming up? I got Memphis Wrestling coming up. We have a couple TV tapings coming up. We got one, I do believe, the Enzo Amore is going to be coming to Memphis here pretty soon. But you can find us on television. And, of course, if that is not in your market, you can always find us on the YouTube channel there, Memphis Wrestling on YouTube, where you'll be able to find all the Memphis Wrestling action, the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Derby City Wrestling. I mean, you'll be able to find it all right there on YouTube at Memphis Wrestling on YouTube. You'll be able to check it out there. Our weekly show, it airs, of course, you can check it out at any time, but it airs every Saturday morning at 12 noon Central Time. So wherever you'll be at, it's 12 noon Central Time is when each TV episode airs.
All right. And your merchandise?
You can, on the merchandise, you should be able to go to the Memphis Wrestling. If you go to the Memphis Wrestling website, I believe it's either memphiswrestling.com or maybe championshipwrestlingmemphis.com. There'll be a little logo there where you can click and go to the Memphis Wrestling store, where you can find T-shirts, pictures. They got DVDs. You get tickets to live events and everything. We got an event coming up. Will be the minor league professional baseball. Memphis Redbirds are a minor league team of the St. Louis Cardinals in Major League Baseball. Anyways, we'll be there wrestling night there at the game, wrestling there. And, of course, we do a lot of stuff with the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. We do a lot of stuff all over, but you can, I mean, you want any of the merchandise, that's the best way to get it, is just go right there. Of course, you can also go to Memphis Wrestling on 1 Hour Tees, or Pro Wrestling Tees, excuse me, and just click on Memphis Wrestling, and you can get some of their merchandise there as well.
Okay. And you don't have to go looking for all of Austin Lane's social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below for our YouTube box. Alright, let's get into it. You work for Championship Wrestling from Memphis and United Wrestling Network. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Absolutely. So the United Wrestling Network, you know, a lot of people know of mainly the two, I guess you would say, the staples, the big flagships of those are the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood as well as Memphis Wrestling. Well, the Memphis Wrestling has been a legendary promotion for many years back in the territorial days, and we brought it back using the United Wrestling Network. We're a part of the United Wrestling Network. It started out with the Hollywood show airing in the Memphis market, and then about 2.5, 3 years ago, Dustin Starr, who hosted those, and of course does stuff with the Grizzlies, the Redbirds, the television stations there in Memphis. Well, he decided that he wanted to transition from the Hollywood show into a Memphis show on television. So that's what we did. We transitioned. They still air the Hollywood show as well, so you kind of get that back-to-back. And then it just kind of transitioned to the Championship Wrestling to Memphis, and now just straight up Memphis Wrestling.
And you're actually a producer on that show as well.
Yes. I've been wrestling business for about 24 years, or 25 years coming up. I'll hit 25 years in October, and I enjoy helping as far as leading a lot of the young guys and teaching and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm wrestling. I'm an on-air talent as well as a producer. I help with the producing the show, and it's great to work with a lot of really talented individuals. And that entire team, that creative team, is really talented, and just being able to work with them and help a lot of the young guys, tell their stories and how to work a television product.
And I mean, 25 years in October, I have to say, happy pro wrestling birthday.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
and happy actual birthday a couple of days ago, no?
Yes. My actual birthday was on July 22nd. Of course, you got the best of the best and the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, both having the same exact birthday. I thought that was always really cool.
That's good company to keep.
Absolutely.
I'm stuck with Jeff Hardy on my birthday.
That's a pretty good one to have on your birthday as well.
It is, yeah, I'd say so.
Right. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, one thing we love here on Wrestling With is we always try to look for a bit of more personal connections with our guests. And I'm about to unload quite a bit of information. Some of it's been repeated before our previous interviews. But, first off, Dustin Starr, in my day job, is a client of my company. I am a caption writer for a certain freelance company, but all the championship wrestling broadcasting and videos come through almost. I don't want to say my desk because we're a group, but yeah, that's one relationship in terms of the United Wrestling Network and Championship Wrestling. Second of all, a friend of mine used to run Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. A man named Nick Bonanno. I'm not sure if that name is familiar. He's since moved to, he's been picked up by the WWE and a producer for NXT now. And not to mention, I do have to say, Championship Wrestling from Memphis, from Arizona, and Hollywood, all air here in the New York market. Gotta love it. Let's get into my first question. All right. Let's start off with a little bit of levity. What'd you think of the Barbie movie?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I've got 2 daughters and a wife. I'm a girl dad, so they wanted to dress up. They dressed up as Barbie. I dressed up as Ken. Went to the movie. I wasn't expecting much from it, honestly, but I really enjoyed it. I did. I didn't know what going into it, what to expect, but I didn't I didn't realize how much heart it would have. It actually had quite a bit of heart. It was a really good story. I mean, I never would have thought, 20 years ago, if someone said they were going to make a Barbie movie, I never would have thought it would actually been, it would have had so much heart and emotion to it. I didn't realize. I would have figured it would have been, something like the Emoji Movie or Minions or something like that. But yeah, it wound up. It was I really enjoyed it. It was a good movie.
All right. Gonna plan on watching that at some point in the near future. All right, James, throwing it back to you.
Yes. Now, you wrestled Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold. I mean, obviously, the NWA Championship is one of the most world-renowned, respected championships of all time. So what did it mean to you to compete for that championship?
Man, that meant so much to me. So growing up, I was a huge NWA fan. That 10 pounds of gold, whether it was Harley Race or Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair holding that was the title that, I grew up. I mean, yes, he had the WCW title or the WWF title growing up, WWE now. Those were prestigious. But to me, that 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship was always like the belt or the championship that I really considered the top of the game kind of deal. So, and for me, it was the first time that title was defended in the state of Missouri in many years. I believe the last time before that, if I'm not mistaken, it may have been Sting against Ric Flair, or it was, I don't remember exactly who it was that was in the match that was the previous championship match in Missouri, but it was the first time in many years that it was defended in the state of Missouri. So it was always a really cool thing for that too. And wrestling someone that like Nick Aldis, who to me brought, it brought the NWA World Championship back to the limelight. He brought so much prestige to that championship, and it meant so much to me just competing for it. And it was just so cool. I mean, even right now, I'm just thinking about it. I've got goosebumps on my arm right now. It was so neat, and it was a dream, like a childhood dream. I guarantee you, my inner child was just bouncing off the wall. He was giddy. He was remembering, waking up Saturday mornings and watching professional wrestling on television at my grandma's house, and it just brought all that back. It just meant so much to me to compete against him.
It was somewhat like a full circle moment, no?
Yes, it was. It really was. It was a full circle moment for me. From that point, my love of wrestling coming from that and seeing that championship on television and at live events to being able to stand in the ring and, to place my hand on that title and at one point actually holding the title in my hand and competing. It was so cool because you get caught up in the moment at times that, you're wrestling and you do it so much that sometimes it comes almost like second nature, just like going through the motions just over and over. Right. And it really wasn't like that with the NWA World Title. I mean, I really stopped and savored the moment and just realized, hey, you are standing in the middle of the ring with the NWA World Heavyweight Champion competing for the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Championship. I just stopped and took a big breath and just soaked in that moment.
All right. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, very early on in your career, one of your first matches was at a Legends show with legends like Bobby Eaton, Ricky Morton, Tom Pritchard, just to name a few. Being relatively in the infancy of your career, you won a battle royal on that show. What impact did a win like that have on your career going forward?
So for me, especially being a student of the game, I always showed that respect and always appreciated, the road that I'm going down was paved by those legends. And being able to compete at one of those legend shows was it was just so awe-inspiring. And for me, winning the battle royal, I mean, it was such a great moment. It's one of those moments that I'll never forget, and it's one of those that really launched my career, because from there, I believe the next Legend show after that, I was managed by Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle, and actually defeated Jerry the King Lawler in a match with the Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Van, as the referee.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and that, I mean, just it propelled me. It went from just being one of the up and coming indie guys kind of thing to it really, like, it cemented the fact that I was a person to watch for, a person that was going to make it in the wrestling business. And it to me, I still get people coming up to me now that are wrestling right now that said, "Oh man, I remember when I was a kid, watching you, wrestling against Kevin Nash, or wrestling against AJ Styles, or wrestling against beautiful Bobby Yeet." And it's one of those where it propelled me, and it showed the wrestling fans that I wasn't just another wrestler, that I was going to be a major player.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And almost even months later after that battle royal, you'd go on to win the NWA Mid-South title, right?
Yes, yeah. I went on to win the NWA Mid-South Heavyweight Championship on 3 occasions, actually. And then eventually won the NWA United States Junior Heavyweight Championship as well on 2 different occasions. So, yeah, it was one of those, it was a launching pad, I guess you'd say. It was a really big launching pad for myself and my career going forward. And I appreciate, the legends and the people that involved in that show to have that much faith in, a young kid like myself at the time, and really, have that faith that I was going to be able to carry the load.
That's absolutely incredible. Career certainly did skyrocket. I would make a pun here about a certain wrestler's name, but I'm going to let James ask about it a little later, or now if he so chooses.
Well, I was just getting into, we've been talking about Memphis wrestling, and there's no name more synonymous with Memphis than Jerry the King Lawler. And like you said, you have pinfall victories over him, and you had a series of matches with him. So what kind of experience was that like? Obviously one of the biggest names in pro wrestling.
Yeah, well, so Memphis wrestling, like Jerry the King Lawler, the name fits perfectly, because in the Mid-South Memphis territory, he was the king. Not just because he wore a crown, because he was the big dog. He was the draw, the ultimate baby face, or the ultimate heel. He was the man. And being able to be in the ring with him, just sitting under the learning tree, and finding out different ways to do things, the why to do things, not just the how. He taught me so much in the ring and in the matches that we had with each other. And I remember back in one of the matches we had, one of the guys that traveled with him, Guy Coffey, had came up to me and he said, "I'm telling you, you made Jerry Lawler look like he was 20 years old again out there in one of the matches." Just because, the story we told, he taught me a lot about telling stories in the ring. And it was just so cool to, I grew up, watching Memphis wrestling. So every Saturday morning I got up at my grandma's house. I got a bowl of cereal, and we tuned in to Channel 5 and watched Memphis wrestling. And seeing the guy that I was watching always in the main event, always, right around that Southern Heavyweight Championship, and knowing that I was in the ring with him, getting pinfall victories over Jerry the King Lawler, it was a surreal moment. It was almost like, this is too good to be true. A good old country boy from Arkansas should not be able to say that he'd done this. So it was an awe-inspiring moment for me.
Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, of course, you have said that you work with your wife, Nikki. You call yourself the Lane Dynasty, I believe, if I'm correct. What are the advantages of working with your significant other in terms of being wrestling talent? I know I did it and didn't exactly work out, and I know there's a whole I got a little like dark cloud over wrestling couples that that's like don't try. But you and Nikki seem to have all the love in the world. How does working with her? How is it working with your significant other, and how does it strengthen your relationship?
Well, with me, so I know there's a dark cloud, and there's people that say, it's hard to work with your significant other or that kind of deal. It's never been that way for me. Myself and Nikki is my best friend in the entire world. We've been married for 21 years now, I believe. And yeah, 21 years together. We never fight. We never argue. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, they can't. Yeah, no, we really don't. We never argue. We are together 24 hours a day. I mean, we are always together, and she is legitimately my best friend. And it's so great to be able to share these moments, in the wrestling business, and to be able to work with her because she's so talented. She's the first ever Memphis Wrestling women's champion of all time. They never had a women's championship in Memphis. Memphis was always, the Southern title, the Southern tag titles. They never had a women's championship. So when they developed the women's championship for this reiteration of Memphis Wrestling, Nikki was the first ever champion, and she's a legend in her own right, in the wrestling business. And to be able to work with her, and it's so enjoyable that I'm able to go out and, to perform with my best friend with me, the whole way as we're out there. We're out there performing, and we're having fun and that kind of stuff. Of course, she'll call me out if I make a mistake, and I don't call her out when she makes a mistake because she'll kick my butt. But yeah, she'll call me out and, hey, you should do this, or she'll give me some tips here and there, and I'll give her some tips here and there, and it's wonderful. Honestly, I am blessed. It's one of those where, you see people that are even in different companies, or they work the same company or on different shows, or they're on the same show, but they don't get to do anything together. You see this stuff with as talented as Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are. I mean, their work together wasn't all that great. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't great.
Right.
And what me and Nikki's been able to do is we've been able to produce something great together. And I think you really can tell it comes across on television exactly how much fun we're having together, and exactly, that we are legitimately just best friends being able to work together.
Absolutely love that. You heard it here, folks. This is the blueprint for an incredible, not just a marriage, but a love story for all time. That's what I'm proclaiming it. Gibbs, throwing it back to you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. But I mean, she legitimately is my best friend. I mean, we got 2 daughters. We have a grandchild together who we both love dearly. She's one of those that helps me collect. I'm a huge collector of nerdy stuff, whether it's toys or VHSs. Like, I'm a huge 80s and horror movies and all that kind of stuff. She created my man cave, which I'm in right now, and it's nothing but horror and 80s and superhero stuff. I mean, she did the entire room for me. I mean, just yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we never fight. We're always, we always have each other's back no matter what the situation is. It's one of those where if they say there really is one soulmate out there for everyone, well, I found mine and I married her.
And we're gonna get into all that nerdy stuff that James and I love a little bit later. But James, gonna throw it back to you.
Yes. Now, you worked for the old TNA, not Impact Wrestling, TNA.
Right.
What was that experience like, and working inside the six-sided ring?
Right, so I was there. So it was at the time we were doing doing the weekly pay-per-views in Memphis, or not Memphis, in Nashville, Tennessee, at the fairgrounds. And then, of course, we were also taping Explosion, which was the television show, the kind of the B show, I guess you'd say, that before the show. So being able to go up there and work with them, I was there the day that they put up the six-sided ring. So it was really crazy, and we were in there, kind of rolling around. And I remember Christphor Daniels, AJ Styles, all those guys, those talented X Division guys are in there, and man, it's a different experience. That the six-sided ring is a different beast altogether. It's a stiff ring, but I enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like it, didn't like working in it. It's a stiff ring, it is, but you're able to create. To me, you're able to be more creative with six sides than four. I mean, I don't have a preference one way or the other, whether 4 or 6, but I do enjoy like what you can do with the six-sided ring. Just being creative and telling different stories. And it was awesome. It was an amazing experience of being able to work there. Jeff Jarrett he's such a nice guy, and he doesn't get enough credit in the world. I mean, he's one of the smartest guys in the wrestling business. And, him and, we've even worked there at Memphis Wrestling with his dad, Jerry. It was great to be able to listen and learn from those guys. And there at TNA, I met some great friends I'm still friends with this day. Elix Skipper, David Young, I got to work a lot with Sonny Siaki, and it was great. I met a lot of great people. It was great to work there. It's something that I will always be able to look back on and say, man, I loved my time there.
I had the pleasure of interviewing Jeff a week or so before his Hall of Fame induction. And yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. We think of him a lot, but we don't necessarily give him a lot of the credit he actually deserves.
Yeah, because his dad was a genius when it comes to wrestling promoting, and Jeff learned so much from him. And yeah, I mean, just the things he was able to do. I mean, he was creating, and he was the one calling those matches with China. When he made her look like $1 million. I mean, he honestly did. He made her look like $1 million. He has wrestled, so many people. He made David Arquette look like he was Ric Flair before David Arquette, he's paid his dues now. But, back, in the WCW days, he made David Arquette look good. I mean, he's one of those guys that Jeff Jarrett, you could put him out there with a broomstick, and that broomstick will be a superstar.
No, you did mention, some of the guys you wrestled. Christphor Daniels from TNA. You wrestled him not too long ago. What was dubbed the best power driver versus the best moonsault.
Oh yeah. It was a Cape Championship, a CCW pay-per-view on Fight TV. Yes, I got to wrestle against Christphor Daniels. We did, and Christphor Daniels, he's one of those guys that he is. I'm gonna put it this way: Christphor Daniels might be the smartest professional wrestler in the world as far as telling a story. He is so good, and just being able to work with him and pulling back the curtain just a little bit, just some of the spots that he called that he wanted to do, and that I wanted to do. He made me look like $1 million. And he was one of those guys that, you know, if you look back on it, he won the match, but that wasn't his idea. He's one of those guys that get brought in, and he's all business. He's there, and he even asked. He's like, "Hey, let me let this guy win. Let put him over. Let's let's make him." And of course, you know, the story we were telling at CCW at the time, you know, we didn't need that. I didn't need the win, that kind of thing. So, you know, we wanted to leave the crowd happy, and he is so professional and so smart. I mean, even today, I mean, if there was one person, well, I'll tell you, there'd be two people. If there was two people that I would say, hey, you need to go to the AEW and pick their brains and learn everything you can from, it's Christphor Daniels and Jerry Lynn.
Oh, yeah. The best moonsault ever, and the new effing show.
Absolutely.
Hey, Scooter.
Yes, you know, your Twitter bio says Fear Factor Champion. There's got to be an interesting story behind that.
Yeah, the Fear Factor. So we were in Orlando, and they were doing the Fear Factor Live events there. And my daughters thought it would be a good idea to have Dad sign up and try to join. So they had so I went to sign up, and then they were doing this. I guess it was kind of like an interview round where they were cutting down to who they were going to put on this show. So we go into it, and everyone there is doing the whole, oh, you know, fear is not a factor for me. You know, I'm not scared of anything, and that kind of thing. And I thought to myself, as a wrestler, I was like, I'm going to work these people. I'm going to give them something different. So when they get to me, I told them my name, and I said, listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm terrified. I was like, my daughters wanted me to sign up for this, and I am terrified, but I do not want to let them down, so I will do whatever it takes to win, kind of thing. And I was one of the people that they picked to do the show. Get to do the show, and on it, it was one of those where I was the oldest one on the show. It was mainly like early 20s and that kind of thing, and it worked to my favor because after the first event, and I wasn't eliminated, they picked like teams for the second event, and the person who had won the first event picked me as the person they wanted for their team, and literally said it's because he's the oldest, and I know I can beat him in the final.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just kind of smiled, and I looked out in the crowd. I see Nikki, and Nikki kind of winked at me, and she's like, he doesn't realize you're a professional athlete. So I thought, okay, we do this. And I mean, as good as he was, and then with myself, we blow through the second round, and we're the final two, and we win, and it gets down to me and him, and it's a huge, like, this obstacle course thing to where I had to climb up a side of a building and pull off flags, slide down a pole, and then I ended up running and getting into a vehicle where they lift you up in the air and like have water pouring down on you. You got to get the flags while the car's in the air. And if you could take and go back and look at it, I'll have to find the video, but I literally dominated the young kid because he didn't realize, you know, that I was an athlete. You know, all he seen was, oh, this is an older guy, and I dominated. I think I finished the event, and he still hadn't even made it to the car yet. And I mean, it was one of those where it was a dominating win, and I thought it was hilarious. My wife afterwards, Nikki was smiling ear to ear, and she's like, yeah, as soon as he said that you were old and he could beat you in the final, I knew you were going to murder him.
Oh, I absolutely love it. James.
Yes. Now, you mentioned earlier, beautiful Bobby Eaton, one of the underrated wrestlers and all around nice guys in pro wrestling of all time.
Absolutely.
Could you tell us about your relationship with beautiful Bobby Eaton?
Yes, absolutely. I'll tell you exactly how great of a person. First off, Beautiful Bobby Eaton is the greatest tag team wrestler of all time.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, and one of the greatest in-ring performers, period, of all time. He was so good. But my relationship with Beautiful Bobby, I've met him many times, many years ago, and we hung out so much and learned so much from him. But I'll tell you what, the type of person that Beautiful Bobby Eaton is. My grandmother passed away several years ago. And this was before, Bobby passed away, of course. But my grandmother had passed away. And I didn't post about it. Like, as a matter of fact, I do not believe there was even social media at the time. I don't believe there actually was social media at the time. So,
Austin?
I was at the wake, the visitation for my grandmother. It was the day before the funeral, and we didn't call anybody, didn't tell anyone anything. It was just one of those where just basically the family knew about it, and that was about it. Well, out of nowhere, I'm up by the casket, saying my last, goodbyes to my grandmother, and I hear whispering, and someone leans over and they said, "I think Beautiful Bobby Eaton is here at the funeral home." And I said, "What?" And I turn around, and I see Beautiful Bobby Eaton standing in the hallway. Walks straight up to me and gives me a huge hug. Didn't even know, I don't even know, I still to this day never found out how he knew that my grandmother passed away.
Oh.
But he came from where he was staying, which was hours away. Came all the way down to my hometown, to where I was at, to the funeral home, to hug me and to be there for me. That's the type of guy that Beautiful Bobby Eaton is, or was.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, man. Absolutely incredible.
I mean, and talking about the person, I mean, that's an incredible story. You was in the ring with him as well.
Yes, yeah, I've wrestled him many times. I've wrestled him as a part of the Midnight Express. I wrestled him one-on-one. I've wrestled him, many different ways. I'll tell you a funny story about a time when I wrestled with Bobby, and it was a show we were wrestling, and it was Bobby Eaton and another guy against me and another guy in a tag match. And Bobby's one of those guys, he was a veteran. He could lead anybody through anything. Well, the guy that I was tagging with, I didn't know really well, and he wasn't the best in-ring worker. And so in the beginning of the match, Bobby is in there with this other guy, and the guy grabs and he body slams from the wrong way. He grabs for a suplex the wrong way, and Bobby's trying to work with him and trying to put him where he needs to be.
Ooh.
And and Bobby, you can see in his eyes, he had those big eyes like, oh my goodness, does this guy know what he's doing, kind of thing. And I remember him like locking up with the guy, and he spins him around and he brings him over to, or puts himself in our corner, and he's like, "Hey, Austin, tag in." So I tag in and I get in the ring with Bobby. I get in the ring with Bobby. Bobby gives me a headlock, and he leans down and he says, "Kid, don't tag the guy back in ever again." He said, "You stay in here with me the rest of the time." And he told me, he's like, "I don't want you tagging out. You stay in here with me. I know you know what you're doing. You're safe. You just stay in here. Let the other guys work at each other."
Oh man,
it was so great. But he was one of those guys. He was so great in the ring. I mean, and he loved the fact that I would take and he would tag in and he'd come in. He'd have me in a headlock, and I'd back him up and I'd shoot him off, and I'd say, "All right, give me that swinging neck breaker," and I'd be fed right perfect for it. I mean, he loved the fact that I would even call his spots for him. And he's such a kind guy. But I always remember that match where the guy grabbed him the wrong way, and it kind of scared him a little bit that he kept grabbing him the wrong way.
Oh,
and Bobby comes over to me and he says, "Austin, tag in." As soon as I got in, he's like, "Don't you ever tag back out. You stay in the rest of this match."
oh man. When we're trained, we're shown everything specifically, and everything is designed to make all of us look good in the ring. I can't understand how anyone could body slam the wrong way. Pick him up, hand on the hip, and just, oh my God. But instead of, that would anger a lot of other guys, and they would probably shoot.
Yeah, I mean, back when I was brought into the wrestling business, I mean, there was ways to even hold a headlock. I mean, you turn your wrist a certain way and you put the wrist bone against the cheek. You can hurt someone. I mean, there was ways that people would, if you were, getting injured in the ring or someone was being unsafe, that they would take it out on you. I mean, they protected themselves as well as the wrestling business. And I was brought up that way. I was brought up in the, the quote unquote shooter style. And, it's just one of those things that, you grab a guy the wrong way, you slam the wrong way, and then you try to suplex him from the wrong side. And I believe you tried to body slam him from the wrong side or something like that. And it was one of those where it was like, hey, this is a little scary here. So he tags in and he's like, Austin, you stay with me, buddy. It was it was in a funny, it was kind of laughing. He's kind of smiled and he's like, all right, kid, you're going to be working a lot tonight because you ain't getting out of this ring.
I was brought up in the in traditional shooter style combination of little bit of deathmatch wrestling, thanks to my trainers Pat Buck and Mikey Ripper. But so everything they taught me still remains to this day. I remember hooking someone trying to shoot the half, and I ended up ripping the guy's shirt off.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know if I say something about, hey, shoot the half. A lot of people don't even know what that means.
James, you do know, right?
Oh, yes, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, that's how we like it here. All
yeah.
Right.
You have a question, Scooter?
Yes. There is a picture on your Twitter on the 5-star fan cam, and if I didn't know any better, I'd swear to God that was Road Dogg. Have you ever been confused for Road Dogg at any point?
I have. Not confused for. I actually got to tag with Billy Gunn. I believe it was last year or maybe the year before last. But I actually got to tag with Billy Gunn, and it was at a Comic-Con show, and we were doing the like kind of a one-time New Age Outlaws kind of thing where I was me and Billy and the guy we were tagging with, we were going to be DX for the day or kind of thing, and someone came up to me and they said, "Are you Road Dogg?" And I'm like, "No, I'm Austin Lane." They're like, "You look just like Road Dogg." And I think it might have been because of the fact that I, was tagging with Billy. I kind of looked like Road Dogg a little bit. They looked at me and they're like, "Man, you look just like Road Dogg, Jesse James."
Okay, I have to ask this because I've seen clips of Billy Gunn at a Comic-Con. Were his sons there?
His sons were not there. We talked about his sons quite a bit, but his sons were not at that one. That one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I know Billy Gunn was there. I don't remember who all was there. It was a Comic-Con in Tupelo, Mississippi. It was a Tupelo Con that we were at, but his sons were not there. We talked about his sons quite a bit, but they weren't there at the event.
I was about to say, I was going to ask next, was Danhausen there by chance? And now I know it's not that particular clip, because in that clip, I believe Road Dogg is actually there behind him. In the time before Road Dogg was brought back as an agent, so I had to ask that.
Yeah, no, yeah, he wasn't there at that. If they weren't there at that event, and Danhausen wasn't there at that event, Danhausen, man, I love that guy. I am such a fan of Danhausen, his work. I think I do. I know which the one you're talking about,
yes.
And yeah, I love it, especially the way he does the, the gimmick with the. Can you say the A word on here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the ass boys gimmick. I mean, I love it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Dan Housen. I love every bit that he does.
Very nice, very evil, and it's the Ass Boys and Billy Ass.
Yes, I love it.
All right, James, yeah, I'll throw it back.
Yeah. You were a druid for the Undertaker. What was that experience like, and working with WWE?
Man, you guys are good. You guys are so good. I mean, some of this stuff, I'm like, wow, they done their homework. You guys are really, really good. I'll tell you that right now. I give all the credit. Well, you guys are really good. Yes. So I was able to play a druid for the Undertaker. The night before, I was actually a football player for. I believe it was Cedric the Entertainer was the guest host of Raw.
Okay.
So the night before on Raw, I got to do that. I was a football player coming out of the limousine with like the Bella twins. We had a goat, a rabbi with the baby. It was a hilarious spot. But doing the SmackDown with the Undertaker, man, it was so neat. When they got us together, they said, "Okay, this is what we need you to do. You're going to be playing a druid. You're going to be carrying the coffin down to the ring. It's going to have Teddy Long in it." It was right around the time CM Punk and Undertaker were doing their storyline, and they were building up to Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
For the World Heavyweight Championship. So it was. I remember putting on the outfit and thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I've seen this so many times on TV. It is so cool that I'm going to be a druid. And, the Undertaker comes up and he put his arm on my shoulder, and I turned around and he's like, "Oh, my druids." And it was such a cool experience. And then to be there, I mean, it's one thing to be able to wrestle in front of, 20,000 people. But the moment when you're standing there, and I believe it was either in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma City, but it was in Oklahoma. But to stand there and knowing that, okay, I'm fixing to come out, and then that gong hits, that Undertaker music hits,
Right.
and you start walking to the ring. It was nervous at first off because the black cloak they put you in, they put a black kind of a mesh like mask over your face so nothing is seen, that kind of deal. You're carrying a coffin, you don't want to drop it because Teddy Long's in there, and you don't want to trip. The druid outfit goes all the way down to your feet, and you're kind of nervous at that, but then you realize that you're walking down to a WWE ring. CM Punk is standing there in the ring looking at you, and you're walking down carrying a casket, and the Undertaker's music is playing. Man, that was just so cool.
I mean that it sounds like, intense, honestly.
Yeah, it was intense. It was one of those where, man, I don't. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like an out of body experience. It was so cool, the fact that I'm walking to the ring, and you're nervous because you don't want to trip. You're going to be that guy. That on national television carrying Teddy Long in a casket, the one druid, no one ever was, but you'd be the one druid that would trip and fall and would be an instant meme for the rest of your life kind of thing. But luckily that didn't happen. But you're nervous about that, but then you at the same time, it's like an out-of-body experience. I mean, you hear the Undertaker's theme song, that gong, that music playing, and you walking to the ring, and 20,000 people, the flash cameras going off, people just going crazy. It's one of those, it's hard to explain how you feel in that moment, but man, it was so awe-inspiring.
Now, was you thinking if you did actually drop Teddy Long in the casket, Did you think he was going to pop out and say, "Now you're in a match against the Undertaker"?
That would have been perfect. All right, player, you drop me, you're going one-on-one with the Undertaker. And it was cool because, there at Memphis Wrestling, we got to work with Teddy Long, last year. He came in and done some stuff with us there. And it was so cool, just kind of going full circle and being able to see him again. And it was such a great thing. I'm so thankful for everything. I'm so blessed for everything that I've been able to do in the wrestling business. A lot of people will say, well, you never, wrestled on WrestleMania, that kind of deal. But, I mean, that was never my goal. To me, I'm one of those guys that is kind of like an artist. I want to paint my picture. I want to tell my story in the ring. And I would rather be able to do that on a smaller scale for Memphis Wrestling, for example, rather than, going and telling someone else's story, on that stage. To me, I've done so much great stuff and I'm blessed for everything that I've done. But I'm one of those, I'm an artist. I want to be able to paint my picture. I want to be able to tell my story to as many people that will be able to see it, but, to the level to where I'm able to paint the story that I want to paint.
Right. And no, I absolutely understand that, and I actually really respect that as well. And I mean, like you said, you've done incredible things, not being on that stage in WWE. Another one that comes to mind is that you actually have a pinfall victory over Kevin Nash.
Yes, I did, and I was able to do that. Around about 8 miles from my house. I mean, it was so close to my hometown, and it was a huge crowd. And you have big, sexy Kevin Nash, and he was, coming almost straight off of the set where they were filming The Longest Yard, and so I talked about that a lot with him. It was a 2-shot thing that we had with Kevin Nash, and so Kevin Nash over the years, some people have kind of given a bad reputation. I never saw that. Kevin Nash was such a professional. He came in and did the match with us, and literally came up with the idea of me winning, getting the pinfall victory over Kevin Nash to set up the next show. Which the next show he was in a tag against the two biggest heels, for that company in Tupelo, Mississippi at Bancor South Center, and I was wrestling. I was the champion at the time for that company. It was Down South Championship Wrestling. And I was wrestling Elix Skipper the next night. So it was so cool to be able to share the ring with him, but being able, him wanting to put me over, and afterwards, having a beer with him. And then the next night, me and Elix Skipper went out and we had like a 30-minute match that was, a barn burner. We stole the show. We won so many awards for that year. As far as I know, the Indie Wrestling Review, like the match of the year, like throughout the whole world, is what they had ours. But that same night, I remember coming back to the back, and Nash had not gone out to wrestle yet, and he called us over there. He's like, "Hey, Austin, Elix, come here." Came back there, handed us both a beer, and told the promoter, he's like, "I don't know how the heck we're going to follow that. Those guys just stole your show." It was so cool. I mean, just Kevin, you've been able to wrestle and get a pinfall victory over Kevin Nash, and then the next night, Kevin Nash saying that me and Elix Skipper absolutely stole the show, and no one's going to be able to follow that. It was such a cool experience.
Oh, Scooter.
Yeah, I've never heard a bad story about Kevin Nash. Adding on to the Undertaker mythos, I heard in a story told to me by Alex Reynolds, the Undertaker liked playing jokes on the indie / enhancement talent. And back when Low-Key was part of NXT's Cabal, and they were doing something with Michelle McCool and Layla, and they remember seeing the Undertaker like storming into the office, and the rumor was he was demanding that Michelle not do something, but Michelle was was going to apparently do something that in the ring the Undertaker wouldn't like, and Alex remembers being so scared to the point, and nobody was in on this, and he didn't reveal anything until the end of the night, where it just, it's absolutely, the things about the wrestlers we grew up with and we love, that just it turns out that that they actually are human inside.
Yeah.
It's always a great feeling.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, being able to work with him. I mean, he's one of those where you knew that when he came in, I mean, he had that respect to that locker room. He was the the locker room leader for so many years, and I was there during that time, and the amount of respect that man has, and rightfully so, he deserves every bit of it. I mean, he earned that respect. It was so cool to see how much he was respected in that locker room.
Now, there's a name that comes up a lot in your match history, and that's Marco Stunt. With Stunt literally being in his name, he's practically an Evel Knievel. What's the craziest thing Marco Stunt has ever done in a match with you?
Let's see. I've had a few. So Marco, before the Joey Janela lost in New York, the match that really set him on the map was a match with me. It was there in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and he was working as it was kind of like just a comedy gimmick. He was working as a bodyguard for a heel faction. And I told the promoter, I was like, hey, next show, let me get Marco. Give me 15 minutes, put his first match, let me do what I want to do. I was like, and I promise you I will steal a show. We went out there and tore the house down, and legitimately the crowd was going crazy the entire time. And at the time they didn't realize how good Marco was and the stunts that he could do. And so, and he's a guy that is a really close friend, been to several birthday parties. He doesn't live far from my house and from where I live now, and right outside of Memphis, basically. But I think the craziest things we've done, let's see, I try to keep him from doing too many crazy things because I try to save his body just a little bit. We did a ladder match to where I had him, and it was my idea I came up with was we had him, it was me, him, and another guy, and I had him straddled on the top rope or in the corner, and I was in the middle of the ring. And what I told him what I was going to do is for the finish of the ladder match was I'm by myself, I'm the heel, and people are booing. I actually unstrapped. What I was going to do is I told him I was going to I would unstrap the title, but I would not let the crowd see that it was fully unstrapped, and let it hang and let him jump from the top rope in the corner where I was going to place the ladder. I would be off to the side a little bit, and I would unfasten it for him and look like I'm trying to unfasten it and I can't, and have him jump from there all the way to the middle of the ring and to pull the belt down. Like I would have it down far enough to where he could grab it out of the hands and win it. That one came off without a hitch. It was perfect. He had once where he came from a balcony. I guess it was probably about 15 feet in the air, anywhere between 15 to 18, and he was going to do a punch off onto me and two other guys, and he overshoot all of us, and I reached back and catch him with one hand. Of course, I've been wrestling 24 years and have injured 0 people. I've never injured anyone. I've hurt myself plenty of times, but I've never had anyone injured in any of my matches. He overjumps all of us. I reach up, catch him with one hand, bring him down safely, landed and broke my hand or broke my wrist. But he was safe. As long as he was safe, that's all I was worried about. I ended up breaking my wrist protecting him, but I would much rather do that, and instead of him, injuring himself, coming off of the balcony. But I caught him one-handed. That was pretty. I was pretty proud of that, being able to stop him with one hand. But ended up breaking my wrist, and he ended up landing on it. But at least he was safe out of it. But we've done some crazy things. I mean, we've done just the normal dives and that kind of stuff. But I think those are two of the ones that stands out to me. The ladder spot where he came from the corner, standing in the corner, to the middle and pulled the belt while I was on the ladder. Just out of nowhere. Everyone was booing. They thought, okay, the heel's going to win it, boo, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, the baby face out of nowhere jumps from the corner all the way to the middle of the ring and in the air and pulled the belt out of the, I had it unfastened so he'd be able to pull it. And when he pulled it, it comes down with him. So he's the winner. And that was a really good spot.
Oh, man. But some point ago, James and I were talking about how we'd love to see a spot where somebody doesn't need the ladder to pull it down. And I mean...
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. I mean, basically, I used the ladder to get up there, and basically all I did was I unfastened the belt and then made it look like I couldn't get it off of the hook or the ring. I couldn't get it off of that, so it's I still can't get it when in all actuality I already had it unfastened so that he would be able to jump from the corner all the way to the middle of the ring and grab it in the air, however high up it was, 12, 15 feet, however far it was up there. But he was able to get all the way up there and to pull the belt down. I mean, it was a great spot. I love being able to, do something different like that. I did a ladder match with a guy named Otto Bain here in Arkansas one time where during the course of the match, I believe we had like 7 or 8 ladders. And during the course of the match, we were slowly but surely building a bridge into the crowd without them realizing it until at the very end of the match when it all come together and they're like, oh my goodness, this is like this contraption that was built. And I remember, so the finish of the match, this is a bigger guy, like, he's not quite as big as The Undertaker, but a pretty big guy. And anyways, he had chokeslammed me in the crowd, and he goes up on the other side of this ladder contraption that we had built, and he starts climbing up, and I remember I come up, I springboard back onto a guardrail, walk down a ladder, up a ladder, down across another ladder, up another ladder, all to reach up to him. And the cool finish to that ladder match was he did the Andre spot. So me and him was fighting on top of the ladder. He falls off, lands on the ropes, and ties himself into the ropes. We both fell, but when I fall, I land back on the ladder going back toward the ropes. So I'm still on the ladders. And he falls down and he's tied himself in the ropes where his arms are, contracted in the ropes where he can't move. And the crowd went crazy. And all I did was raise up, realize that he's tied up, that he couldn't go anywhere. And all I did was just basically raise up and pull the belt down. And the crowd went crazy. I love those creative finishes like that.
And you mentioned, you've never injured somebody in your matches. Everybody wants to talk about accolades and titles. Never injuring somebody is an accolade and a title that a lot of wrestlers today should really strive for.
Yeah, I'm so proud of that that so many times Jerry Lynn used to say that wrestling me was like a night off. It was because when we were wrestling back in the day, I was wrestling, 5-6 times a week. And, you needed to be able to, to be able to wrestle the next day, to provide food, on the table for your family and be able to make the next show and not be injured and beat up. And so, being the fact that I've gone 24 years, never injuring anyone. That's Bret Hart can say the same thing. Never injuring anyone in all those years. It's an accolade that I can be so proud of. That I know that that no matter who it is, I don't care who it is. I guarantee you right now, if we saw like the Ric Flair's last match in Nashville a couple years ago, I guarantee you I could set foot in the ring with Ric Flair today, and I can tear the house down with him, and he would never break a sweat. It's just one of those where I'm confident, but it's one of those where I'm so proud that I've been able to say that I could literally go out there with anyone. I've wrestled against radio DJs, against, basketball coaches, football coaches, non-wrestlers, and been able to tell a story and have a good match with these individuals and make them look so good. And the fact that, they can say that they leave their ring in the same shape as they came into the ring, that they're able to go home and spend time with their family and not be injured. It's just that it's something that I can put. It's a feather in my cap. It's something I can hang my hat on.
Definitely. Now I think that's a good segue into our next segment, and that is Austin Wayne's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the road and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are found to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
All right, hold on just a second. I think give me just 1 second. I'm ready for you. All right. Now, what was the next segment?
Okay, so can you tell us a road story that is weird, crazy, and/or bizarre?
Okay, let's say some bizarre ones. So I did a lot of road trips, and to me, a lot of times what we'd do is I would go to a certain area, whether it's Illinois, Chicago area, and I would hit. Like Thursday night, we'd have a show, or sometimes we'd be able to do a Wednesday, but a Thursday night show, and then the Friday night show, and then usually 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday. I would hit different areas, especially if there was a lot of indie shows around those areas. And I mean, I've wrestled in some crazy places. I do remember we had one time where we pulled up to a huge arena, and we go in, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, this is going to be a really cool thing. The outside of it looks like, it looks like it's something that would hold WrestleMania. It's this huge arena. Go inside, and then you realize that it's a legit rodeo place, and there was cow feces everywhere. We dressed inside of like a horse barn or horse stables. Each match was in their own like horse stable, and there's been some like weird locations like that before. I've wrestled at a hot balloon festival. I believe it was in Illinois or Indiana. It was a hot balloon festival that was really cool, just having all these hot balloons. But as far as like crazy road stories, I don't have a lot of crazy road stories, I guess. Some of the stories probably wouldn't be good to tell for some of the people that are involved in it. But we've had some great stories on the road. I know that there's this saying, a lot of times I'm the wheel guy, so I'm the guy that drives to most places. So a lot of times, I didn't get to do a lot of the hanging out or the partying, that kind of deal, because I was always the wheel man. But I remember like several times that we'd go on these trips, and we would leave with maybe 6 or 7 of us. And we've had a few times where we came back with less people than we left with, or we came back with more people than we left with. Somehow, like I do remember one trip where I do not realize, I know we left with 5 of. Uh-oh. losing service. I think the service is getting bad here or something. Oh, we were going to believe that Midwest. I do know we left with 5 guys from this area, but when we got back after about a week, we only had 4 people. And so we lost someone along the way. And I don't know if I don't know where we lost him, but and to this day, I still cannot tell you who exactly it was. I do know, and that's one of those where back in those days, we don't remember a lot of those trips, but I do remember, leaving. We did for sure leave with 5 people because we came back with 5 wrestling bags, but we only came back with 4 wrestlers. We lost someone along the way, and if you're hearing this and you're that guy, I do apologize. Call me and we'll come get you wherever you're at. I mean, it's been many years, but. That guy may have found him the love of his life, or found him a great job somewhere where he ended up wanting to stay where he was at. But I do know that we ended up coming back with less people than we left with.
Or he's still just undecided to go, waiting for you to fix him up.
Yeah, he after probably 15 years, it was probably 15 years ago. He may still be on the side of the road waiting.
Yeah. Alright, fantastic story. Scooter.
Yes. Now, I believe you and I have a common love for Mountain Dew.
Oh yes.
Okay, I am a huge beverage collector. When it's new or limited edition, I have to get it. And Mountain Dew is particularly great with those types of things. What is your favorite flavor that you've had so far? And I'm betting we've had a lot. And I know you've probably had Johnson City Gold. If you happen to know what.
Is that what? Yeah, I think I've had that one. The gold one. Yeah, I believe I've had that one. I guess as we are speaking, I'm drinking Mountain Dew Voltage. That was a really good one. I like the Frostbite, the Baja Blast. And what I like to do, especially like during the summer where it's nice and hot, that kind of thing, I like to put mine in the freezer and let it get kind of slushy. And then when you open it up, and it's so cold that it almost burns your throat going down, that kind of cold, that's the ideal temperature for me. I think my favorite right now would be Frostbite. It's the blue one. I believe that one is a Walmart exclusive. It's got the shark on it. That one's probably at the top of the list. The Voltage that I'm drinking right now, I love that one. The Baja Blast, really good. Live Wire. I believe I've tried the Gold. I think the Gold one I've tried as well. And, of course, the Baja Blast also has different offshoots of that one as well. They've got like a mango one and a different kind of flavors from that flavor. I've tried those. Well, those are really good too. Yeah, I think I'm a lot like you are. Yeah, big fan of the Mountain Dew. The different ones like that. Probably not good for me to drink so many of them, but I run a little bit extra. I do a little more training in the ring to make up for it. But because I've got to have I tell my wife I want the Blue Dews. I want the Voltage, the Summer Freeze. That one came out this summer. It's kind of like the red, white, and blue popsicle on it. That one, Frostbite. Yeah, the Blue Dews, I think right now, they're at the top of the list right now. But that could change, next month I could, Baja Blast might move up to this top spot again. But it's always a rotating thing, but I love the Blue Dews.
Here in New York, our main staples are our Voltage, Code Red, and Major Melon has become a regular. But
yeah, Major Melons, the Code Red, I love both of those. I got actually right here in the fridge. I'm looking. I got Code Red. I got the I don't have the Major Melons. I don't have one in here. I guess I drank all of them right now. But I got the different blues, the Baja, and the Code Red all in the fridge right now.
Did you
Now,
have
in my
Did you have the flaming hot Mountain Dew?
Which one is it?
Flaming hot.
have you ever? Yeah. Yeah.
I have not tried that one. I've seen it. I haven't tried that one yet. Is that one pretty good?
I've heard not good things about it.
Okay, maybe I don't need to try that one. I looked at it and I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't know, because I like I like it really cold. So, the flaming hot, I thought about it. I'm like, it'd be kind of like taking one of the flaming hot, Cheetos and freezing it or something. I don't know if it would work that well.
Now, on my trip from Birmingham to Branson 2 years ago, I came across all the Baja offshoots. They're Dollar General exclusive, if I remember correctly, like Baja Rush, Baja something else. But the two favorite flavors, not favorite, but I think the two flavors that defied expectations were Mountain Dew Snapped and Mountain Dew Fruit Quake.
I've not tried the fruit quake. I've seen that one. That one I seen on a road trip. The Snapped I like. The fruit quake, I believe it was on a road trip maybe a few months ago, I guess, or it might have been during the wintertime. I remember seeing it, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to one of a bunch of us. It's a text thread with a lot of wrestlers on it. And I sent it to him like fruit cake. I'm like, has anyone tried this? And no one had tried it at that point. Yeah, I seen it. I didn't try it, but you said it was pretty good.
Oh, it was like you wouldn't believe that it's supposed to be fruitcake inspired. It was nice and sweet and had a little bit of that almost like clove spiciness at the end, so it wasn't so strong. But the Snap gingerbread flavor Mountain Dew, which was completely clear. First of all,
yeah,
like I was drinking Crystal Pepsi, back when in the early when it first came out. I mean,
I love the Crystal Pepsi.
Oh my God! And when it came back, every time I bought it out. The new Dr. Pepper that's coming out, the strawberries and cream. That's something new. But the fact that this is gingerbread, and I hate gingerbread of any other kind. This was, oh my God! It was absolutely. Who knows what flavor that they're gonna have this Christmas? I know we had Red, White, and Dew, which was a combination of Code Red, Voltage, and Whiteout. Whiteout. And what's the one from Buffalo Wild Wings? Sweet Lightning. But my Mountain Dew Holy Grail, even though they don't make it anymore, is Johnson City Gold, because that's supposed to be the original Mountain Dew before it really became Mountain Dew, and when it stopped being moonshine and was more of a beverage to be consumed by others. Now, I personally don't. I know they have the hard flavors out now. I personally don't consume them, but how was the hard Baja Blast Zero Sugar? How was the hard Baja Blast Zero Sugar?
It was good. It was good. I mean, it was one. I was surprised.
Should it have had sugar?
Do what was it?
Should it have had sugar?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Everything's better with sugar, right?
Clearly, yes. All right, James.
On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on
Okay.
pizza. What's your stance?
On which one? What was the subject?
Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Oh, I mean, to me, I've never actually eaten the pineapple on pizza, so I can't decide. To me, I don't know if. Surely, I mean, there's like banana peppers are pretty sweet. I mean, to me, I've had dessert pizzas like chocolate chip pizza, so I mean, and I enjoyed it. But I mean, to me, I haven't actually tried the pineapple on pizza. I need to try it so I can actually get an informed opinion. But to me, I mean, I would say that I wouldn't choose pineapple on a pizza. To me, I'm a meat and cheese kind of guy. You know, I love the breakfast pizza, like the bacon. I like classic pepperoni. To me, I wouldn't choose pineapple on a pizza, but I guess if people like it, and some people do, I guess I wouldn't say that it's wrong to put it on there, kind of thing, but I wouldn't put it on there myself.
Okay. And what's your spirit Pokemon?
I've never collected Pokemon. I never have. I haven't even seen the movie. I heard the movie was really good, the Detective Pikachu.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I honestly have never played, never watched Pokemon. I'm more of a, like, to me, the stuff that I collect is, there's a lot of 80s horror, 90s horror, Stephen King, Nightmare on Elm Street, and then 80s stuff like the Back to the Future. I've got an Exorcist pop figure of Reagan signed by Linda Blair. I mean, I collect stuff like that. Ghostbusters, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I never got into Pokemon at all. I never have. So who do you think would be my spirit Pokemon?
Ooh. That's hard. Scooter?
You gotta at least make me like one of the cute ones that grows up to like be like a big monster or something. It gotta be bring you in with the sweetness and then be like a big monster kind of
Then
thing.
that's Charmander.
I was gonna say possibly Machamp or Macho. But,
yeah, you have to send me like a picture of him, and I'll post him as that he'll be my official spirit Pokemon.
Alright. I think if we're going with sweet and then mean, then Charmander to Charmeleon is obviously
I've heard of him. I have heard of him. I've heard of Pikachu. I've heard of Charmander. I've heard of those guys. I couldn't. Now Pikachu, I could pick him out. I could tell you what he looked like. So you have to send me a picture of him. I'll post him online as that you guys have officially made him my spirit Pokemon.
I will do that. Alright, now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
Yeah, Tracy Smothers. Oh man, I love Tracy Smothers. I got Tracy Smothers stories. The THUG, the thug himself. Yeah, Tracy Smothers. There's an old saying a lot of us wrestlers will say, if you get in there with Tracy tells you, all right, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get in there. We're going to start slow, and then we're going to taper off. And he'll tell you, like, listen, if you think that we're going too slow, slow it down. Tracy Smothers, I love him. I love Tracy Smothers. And Jessie Belle Smothers, one of my really good friends. Love her to death. Sweetheart. Mickey Knuckles, when she done the Smothers daughter gimmick.
Good friend of the show.
Yeah, those guys, and I love Mickey Knuckles. Mickey Knuckles, I've known her. Me and her used to, we would do customs wrestling, and she and I would be outside of the ring, and anytime like two wrestlers were having a match, and me and her would make all these obscene gestures and faces and try to get them to crack from behind the camera. Mickey Knuckles is such a sweetheart.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
We love it.
one of our favorite guests on the show. One of our most memorable interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mickey Knuckles is amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, obviously, we're trying to keep the memory of Tracy Smothers alive on the show as well. So thank you so much for that story about Tracy.
Absolutely. Tracy Smothers, yeah, he taught me so much. Such an amazing person, wrestler, everything. He was another one of those, like the Armstrongs and the Smothers, you know, they were so good in the ring. And guys, a lot of people, fans nowadays don't realize how good those guys were. I mean, they were just so amazing.
Oh, yeah. All right, on to the weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview. Would you ever consider wrestling in Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
In Rock.
A-Rock.
A-Rock.
A-Rock. Think about one that you'd use to line your driveway, like a Heideke rock.
Yeah.
Would you ever
So what yeah. So yeah. You mean wrestling on rocks or wrestling against a rock?
Against the Rock.
I would wrestle against a rock and make the Rock look like the Rock. I guarantee you, I've prided myself on being able to make people look better than they ever did. I guarantee I'd take a rock, a stone, a pebble, whatever it is. I would make a rock look like the Rock when it's all said and done.
Well, just for context, there is this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, I got to check that out. I'll have to look that up after we're done here.
I will send it to you.
Canadian.
Okay, yeah, send that to me. Yeah, I want to see that. That'd be. I've seen it all. I've seen the Invisible Man. You know, versus the Invisible Man. I mean, I've seen Kenny Omega wrestling against a blow-up dog. I mean, yeah. We could do it.
That's like a 4-year-old.
Yes, exactly.
Let's just get into the speed round. It's time for the 8th question of Doom. This is the speed round, the bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Jerry Lynn.
Worst wrestler.
Ooh. I can't think of a worse one. Pass. I'll come back to that one.
Okay, we're gonna pass. We're not gonna give him the default here.
Your main event in WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Shawn Michaels.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
The Rock.
Finish the sentence. K-Fake is
alive and well for some of us, dead for others.
We also would have accepted is quite good on toast.
There you go.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit.
Oh, I got that wrong.
Yes, tomato logic. It has seeds.
Okay, yeah.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
To me, I guess it would be anywhere between 33% of your body covered to, I wouldn't go any higher than like 75% covered.
Okay.
All right.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, never have. I've never had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin. I would if someone were proceeded to ask, but actually, I think I may. Next time I go to a supermarket, I'm just going to go up to a stranger and ask them if they've seen Darby Allin's last match.
Yeah.
If you
I'm going to do that, and I'm going to film it too.
and if when you do, please send it to me.
I will. I'm gonna go to a complete stranger, someone I do have not know who it is at all, and I'm gonna walk up to him and ask him about Darby Allin's last match.
All right.
Once we receive the clip, we will retire.
And of course, that is the correct answer, and that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Austin.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was an honor, it's a pleasure. I loved it. Absolutely. Enjoyed every bit of it. You guys are really good. You guys are knowledgeable. You do your homework. You are really good. I was extremely impressed. Yeah, so anytime you guys holler at me, and I'll come back on anytime you want.
Absolutely, and we like to keep it interesting for our guests, obviously. And
absolutely.
Once again, where can we find all things Austin Lane on social media?
On social media, you can find me on at Austin Lane 1, the number 1 on Twitter, The Real Austin Lane on Instagram, Best of the Best Austin Lane on Facebook, or then you could also find us on YouTube at Memphis Wrestling on YouTube. Of course, you can YouTube any of our matches. You can see myself against Ricochet, or a few others, that kind of deal. But just make sure to follow us. And a lot of times, I follow you back, and as long as you're not posting like weird, crazy stuff, I'll follow you. That kind of stuff. I'll follow you back and interact with people. I love to interact with people. I'm not one of those guys that people post something to me and I just ignore it, or I try to take time to go through everything and interact with people. I want to know what you think. I want to interact. Excuse me, easy for me to say, with my fans.
And you don't have to type it into Google machine. All the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt. Of course, if you like.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been an honor, a pleasure. Nice to meet both of you. Holler at me anytime you want. Yeah, I'll be back on here anytime whatsoever, and I'll send some guys your ways too. If you want to get some interviews with different people, I can send them to you.
Absolutely, throw them my way, and we will bring them on. Until then,
yes, thank you guys so much. It was an honor. I appreciate it so much.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Real Energy and Fairmont Coffee. Join us tomorrow as we interview Jack Talos, and join us every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox for new incredible interviews. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on Twitter and Instagram for information at who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing, and links to those interviews and so much more. Where can we find Scooter?
Find me on X at Scooter Dust. Keep an eye out for social medias for the next remix. I promise it's coming back soon. And of course, revel in all my Dungeons and Dragons antics, along with Rico Constantino Jr. and the rest of the Smoking Dragons clan, twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
For our special guest Austin Lane, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.